Ever since my first video on RDP Shortpath, I have gotten a ton of questions on features and security, and many of you are looking for help because it wasn't always working out for you as easily as I showed in the video. And Shortpath is even more complicated now because you can set it for private or public networks or use it with or without stun, not to mention questions on Shortpath for private link. In fact, I've had a lot of conversations that go something like this. Hey, what's going on, IT guy? Hey, Microsoft guy. I'm trying to use RDP Shortpath for public networks with that new stun server, but I can't get it to work. Can you help me out? Really? Did you watch the Azure Academy's video on Shortpath? Of course. Doesn't everybody? Yeah, I wish, but did the stun server setup ever work for you? No, but if I remove all of the stun and Shortpath settings, the users can connect. Okay, well, do you have a firewall or some kind of NAT device in your environment? Yeah, I'm using the Azure firewall. Why? Is it not supported for some reason? Yeah, Azure firewall is totally supported. However, with Shortpath for public networks, that's using the stun protocol. And stun combined with a NAT gateway or a firewall can cause symmetric NAT, and that's probably why it's not working. Okay, hold on, stop the video for a second. Let me explain why this is happening. NAT, as you probably know, stands for Network Address Translation. It's a feature in your routers that translates your private IP addresses into public ones. And NAT has really helped as the number of devices in the world has just exploded. But it's not without its issues. Like Microsoft guy said, the problem here is Symmetric NAT. And Symmetric NAT translates both the IP and the port between your endpoints and the stun server. But stun only understands IPs, so it can't work with Symmetric NAT. But that's okay because there are other tools that we can pull off the shelf and make this work. I mean, you could just get rid of your firewall or your NAT gateway, right?
Wrong!
Instead, let's use stun with turn. Now, stun is like a bouncer at the club. He stands at the door, checks the names, and makes sure just the right people can get in. And once stun does its whole handshake process, it's really out of the picture. Turn is much more like the wait staff. They're helping the orders get from the kitchen out to the guests. So it functions a lot more like a proxy, relaying everything until your session is done. Now that you know what's going on, let's get back to the video. Now, fixing the symmetric NAT issue is actually really easy. In the AVD portal, go to your host pool properties. Then just make sure that the validation pool setting is enabled, and this will let you use the turn protocol, which should resolve the symmetric NAT issue. And the coolest part is once the preview for turn is over, you won't even need to do this. It'll all just be baked right into your stun setup. Wow, that's super easy. Anything else? Yeah, now you've probably already done this, but I'll just put this doc here in the video description anyway. Now for stun, you're going to need to open these UDP high ports to the destination of any, and you'll also need to open UDP 3478 over to 20.202.0.0/16, and that's required for stun to work. On the other hand, things are simpler with turn. You only need UDP 3478 open to that same address. And your client may need those ports open on their side as well, especially if you use some kind of client VPN or a client proxy. Just add those rules and you should be good. Yeah, it sounds good, but what is it? Tell me. Well, my security team doesn't like it that you guys want all these high ports open. Is there any way you can change that? Yeah, actually there is. Do you have the AVD group policies installed? I didn't even know that there were an official AVD GPO. So this doc is also linked in the video description. Just click right over here and download the policies. Now the way that you get these imported is going to depend on how you're managing your environment, whether it's traditional AD, hybrid, or Azure AD join. Now the last video that I had on importing ADMX files into Intune, at the time of recording, these policies aren't supported in there yet, but the product team is working on it. So if you're doing Azure AD Join full cloud management, you can still do this, but you've got to treat them like local policies. And if that's you, just extract all the files, then open your Windows File Explorer and type %win_dir%/policy definitions. Paste in your terminal server ADMX file right here, and then go back to your extracted folder and go to your particular language file, grab the ADML, Go back here to Policy Definitions, scroll up to the top, find your language folder, and drop it in there. Then click Start and type gpedit.msc. Go to the Computer Configuration, Admin Templates, Windows Components, Remote Desktop Services, Remote Desktop Session Host, and Azure Virtual Desktop. Now, if you're doing hybrid or traditional management, once you've extracted the files, you'll need to copy them over to your domain controller's C Windows Policy Definitions folder, or if you're using the central store, that'll be located at domain name /sysvol /domain name /policies /policy definitions. Just paste the ADMX file, go back and grab the ADML from your particular language and put it in the right folder. Then open the Group Policy Management console, either add a new policy or edit an existing one, then just go to the same location. Now there's a bunch of goodies in here like screen capture protection, watermarking, and then open the Use Port Range for Shortpath for unmanaged networks. Enable that, and then the base port range is the first high port that you want to use, like 38300. And the pool size is the number of ports that you want to use. So you just say 1000. So now the highest port that this will consume is 39299. Okay, now there's two more things that you need to know about using Turn. During the preview, Windows clients only are supported, and you need to be at version 1.2.3488 or newer. So make sure that you're updating your AVD clients. And there's also a new troubleshooting tool for Turn and Stun, just to make sure everything's working as expected. And this doc here is also linked in the video description, and you click right over there to download it. Double click on it or open it from a command prompt, and if it looks like this, you're good to go. Also, when your users are in their sessions, they can open the connection dialog box, and if you're using just Stun, the transport protocol will show as UDP. But if Turn is working, then you'll see it says UDP Relay. And there's also references in the doc here for log analytics so that you can go through there and see how everyone's connecting. And that means that you can keep your firewall and your NAT gateway and have more control over Shortpath's port ranges all at the same time, which does make me wonder. There are like 7 different ways that you could set up RDP Shortpath for your public networks. So you should probably watch this video next to see which one's right for you. Happy learning.